Good evening, everyone. This is AJ Singleton, Chair of the LFUCG Ethics Commission. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting, November 2nd, 2023, of the Commission. Our first order of business is with respect to orders to appear for delinquent financial interest statement filers. Mackenzie, can you give us an update on that?
Yes, actually. Okay, so when we issued the orders to appear in October, we sent out 6, I believe. And so we are only waiting on 3, one from Bill Farmer. He actually did not get an order to appear because we decided to wait on that and take a gentler approach. But he has been contacted personally by Abby and the CAO's office, and then Abby texted him today. But I understand that we were thinking about maybe issuing an order for the next meeting. And then Nicholas T. Hart, he did receive his certified order to appear. I received an electronic receipt for that one. So I did try and contact him, but I couldn't find a number or an email. He was the constable in the 2nd district, I believe. And his constable email address is defunct now because he is no longer a constable. So I did call his workplace, but I never heard back from him. And then Kim Sweezy, who is a former Ethics Commission member, I emailed her personally, and I have not heard back from her. But she did receive her order to appear.
And what is the status of certified mail for each of those, for both Mr. Hart and Kim?
Mr. Hart did receive his,
Okay.
and Ms. Sweezy did receive hers. We do things by electronic certification now. So I get an email when I send it, and then I get an email when they get it. And so there's no signature, which is not ideal, but it does say delivered and picked up by recipient.
Evan, from a next step process, what are our options? What should the commission do in your opinion?
Yeah, so if we have evidence that that it was mailed to them via certified mail, the Ethics Act requires that at least one letter be sent by certified mail in order to impose fines. The orders to appear said that required them to appear, obviously, to explain why one hasn't been a financial statement hasn't been filed yet, and I think Mackenzie said there was 2, Nicholas Hart and Kim Sweezy. Sounds like they both received their certified letters as required by the Ethics Act. Also should have then also received the order to appear. In the past, and at least the last time last year, if I remember correctly, what the commission ended up doing was entering an order for each of the people who did not file and did not appear, fining them $500 unless they provide their financial interest statement by the next meeting. Basically, there's you're fined $500, but it will be taken back if you file your statement for this year, for last year, by, I guess the next meeting would be in February. So that past practice would make sense to do for now, but it's up to the commission.
I kind of like the idea of keeping consistency, precedent, if you will. That is what we did last time. I would be in support of that myself. That gives them another grace period, these 2 individuals. The other thing that I would suggest is making sure that it's not only certified mail, but restricted delivery to be put on the form so that we know that that was the individual who got it. Now the question then becomes, okay, what happens if we don't get the green card back or the email notice that they themselves have gotten it? I'm concerned from a due process standpoint, unless we have that person signing for it, that we could have other issues. But I think that is nonetheless the next step. And so For me, and I'm open to hear other comments as well, I would be in support of what we've done in the past, certified mail and restricted delivery on the certified mail request.
And just so you know, the $500 fine would be collectible by court action, so it's not anything necessarily that is imposed on anybody's, it's not a lien necessarily right now, but so we'd have to sue them in order to collect.
Well, I'd still like to, make sure that they understand the seriousness, and it's that person who is actually signing for the delivery. Yeah.
So do I understand that neither of these individuals currently have any official duties? Is that correct?
That is correct.
So the way an FIS works is you have to file for a year after your year of service. So, for example, Mr. Hart, his last year of service as a constable was 2020. It was 2022. So he'll fill one out for this year, but then he'll also have to fill one out for 2023, which will be next year. So.
I just think that the fact that they're not currently performing any official duties is support for, postponing the imposition of a fine for another meeting. So there's no urgency here, so to speak.
And I work with Kim, so I think I can nudge her and get her to fill this stuff out.
Yeah, it's usually pretty easy to get the LFUCG employees and officers just because we have their email addresses and we generally know where they work if they work in the government, so we just go and find them. It's not as easy if they're off-site or not, either not a candidate or not a officer anymore. That's where it gets more difficult.
What about, AJ, with respect to Mr. Farmer on this list? Said we were handling him a little bit differently. What would be, I guess, our thoughts as far as should he be included in the list of people to receive this particular notification of the imposition of a fine subject to purging of the fine if the FIS is returned before the next Ethics Commission meeting?
With that one, Mackenzie, please refresh my recollection, but I think that we had treated Mr. Farmer a little bit different because of the recent passing of his wife. I don't know that we had previously sent a certified mail envelope, so maybe we start that process.
We actually did send a certified letter in September, just saying, hey, you haven't turned this in yet. Just so you know, it needs to be turned in. We've actually seen him in our office, too. He came by one time after he's on the Public Arts Commission, and we literally handed him the form and said, could you get this back to us? And he did not, so.
Yeah, so I think we haven't provided an order to appear yet for him, correct? The certified letter was the second one of the three. And so I guess in order to then give him an opportunity to appear, to provide the ability for him to explain the reason why, I treat him similarly with the other ones. It would make sense, I would think, to potentially order him to appear for the next one, and then the other two to fine them unless they provide it by the February date.
I think that makes sense. If Mr. Farmer has not yet had an order to appear, it's almost like you've got to take that step before you can impose the fine. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? I will be happy to entertain a motion.
The Chairman, I hereby move that as to the delinquent financial interest statements that an order to appear is sent to Mr. Farmer, asking him to appear at the next Ethics Commission meeting to explain why he has not turned in a financial interest statement. The burden to appear can be relieved or quashed by his actually returning the FIS before that time. I would also, part of that motion, move that fines of $500 be imposed against Mr. Hart and Ms. Sweezy by written notification sent by certified mail, restricted delivery, but with the provision that should those financial interest statements be provided prior to the Ethics Commission's February 2024 meeting, that those fines will be rescinded.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And Mackenzie, thank you for your work on that. The next item on the agenda is the approval of AO 2023-002, the ethics opinion that was previously drafted based on the July 2023 advisory opinion request. This was distributed in the materials that Mackenzie was able to send out. Did everyone have an opportunity to review that?
I did. I don't see anything that I would change or revise. I think it captures the opinion of the commission as stated at that time.
I reviewed it, and I think the management plan is appropriate and well-placed, so.
Any further comment or discussion? I will entertain a motion to accept the draft AO 2023-2 advisory ethics opinion, which confidentiality has been waived, that was drafted as of September 8th, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and 2 seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. Next order of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, which I was not present for. Carrie, thank you for chairing that in my absence. This was also part of the packet that Mackenzie was able to send to us prior to this meeting. This would be the minutes of the August 3rd, 2023 meeting of the Lexington Fayette Urban County Government Ethics Commission meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those minutes? Any comments, questions, or additions? I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
On the advice of counsel, I second it.
Very good. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And
Next on the agenda is the ethics tip line report. Evan, can you provide an update on that?
yeah, and just before I do that, I just want to also mention in the minutes it mentions a nepotism discussion we had at a future meeting. I'll make sure that's on the next February meeting. We wanted something drafted. Ethics Commission wanted something drafted regarding laws, ideas. So we'll get that to you in the next meeting. And so the next is the ethics tip line. As I always say, it encompasses. It's called the ethics tip line, but it encompasses more than just ethical issues. It's generally a tip line that you can call about really any problems you have with government, ethical or not. So very rarely is there actually an ethics incident. In the tip line report, a lot of times, as you can see, it's there's discrimination, theft, etc. That's handled by the division itself. Typically, and sometimes ethical issues are then referred to the Ethics Commission. But the ordinance creating the ethics tip line requires the tip line report to be provided to the Ethics Commission. So here it is. There's September's. What's it, out of order? It looks like it's out of order. Yeah, no, the June. There's June. There's July. And then there's August. And then September. And my review did not indicate anything related to a violation of the Ethics Act. So there's nothing for the Ethics Commission to handle at this time.
Thank you, Evan. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Evan about the ethics tip line?
So the internal audit owns the tip line and owns the responsibility for investigating reports on the tip line. Is that right?
I think they I'm not, I think that they oftentimes are the case manager for specific things, but I think it's a lot of the times if gets diverted to different divisions, and internal audit just makes sure it's continues to be working for employees and the public to provide tips.
So I was wondering about a matter that was reported at the end of June of a conflict of interest, financial nature. And it was, the case manager was internal audit, the department was environmental services, and it indicates that administrative actions were taken. And would something like that ever be referred to us for comment, or?
Yeah, I think for this one, and if I remember correctly, if that one in particular, that one was a last minute, and it actually relates to that nepotism issue that I was discussing earlier. The ethics commission, or it was a tip that was provided close in time to an action of the council, in which involved a contract. If I remember right, the contract involved the spouse of a division director. And so it's reflected in the minutes, a brief discussion about that from the previous meeting, but because of the time constraints, we couldn't call a special meeting in time before the council would take action on it. The law department recommended a separation of powers, so the division director doesn't have anything to do with that particular contract. And then we'd have a larger discussion at a later time about, what the ethics commission wants to do in those nepotism situations in which a relative of a division director might have a financial interest. The spouse of a division director might have a financial interest in a contract. So that's what. So that one will be brought to the ethics commission's attention. But yeah, it was handled internally by the law department because of its the nature and how quick it had to be determined.
Thank you.
Any other questions about the ethics tip line? Well, y'all, that concludes our agenda for this meeting. One thing that I did want to add is our commission and pretty much each of the other commissions or groups of LFUCG have been invited to have representatives at the Lyric Theater this coming Saturday between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. to basically tell the community what we do if anyone wants to come by the table and say, hey, what does the Ethics Commission do? Now, I have volunteered to be there for the whole time. I would encourage anyone else to be there, and we can even tag team so that it doesn't have to be 4 hours. I'm happy to do the 4 hours. But if anyone else would be interested, please feel free to volunteer. And you don't have to decide right now even.
Yeah, so I'm going to be there for the purposes of another commission I'm on. So let's say 11 to 12, I'll join you. Is that okay?
That works perfectly.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, you don't have to tell me or us now. You can feel free to show up as is, and we can tell folks who are interested what we do. That concludes, I believe, our business for this meeting. Evan, thank you for being here. I understand that this may be your last meeting. You provide a good service to the Ethics Commission, so we thank you.
Thank you.
I will, with that, entertain, and by the way, Mackenzie, thank you for putting together the materials. Very, very much appreciated.
The dates for the next meeting, or the next year's meeting, are on the back, so just in case you want to put those on a calendar.
Mackenzie also does a good job of keeping us online and on the calendar. With all that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn unless there's other business.
Chairman, I'll make the motion to adjourn, seeing as there was no other business raised.
Do I have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Other than to say to each of y'all that our next meeting, unless a special meeting is called, is next year, So to each of you and yours, happy holidays. Enjoy yourselves, be safe. All in favor of the motion to adjourn, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you all.